And then now I got pause. I'm going to call the side opposite of A, little a, side opposite of B, little b, and little c. Okay? Everybody understand when we're talking about big sides, little sides, a big A, but I'll just shut up. I was going to say is what Beyonce has. Is it true though? Come on. Okay. Or Kim Kardashian.
It's luscious. Okay, no, Kim Kardashian is not luscious.
Okay.
Beyonce's is.
And then we got little a's, little b's, and so forth. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so what's going to happen here is I'm going to prove it to you very fast. You don't have to write this down. I don't care if you know where it comes from. Bear with me. I'm going to draw an altitude. You guys know what an altitude does. It brings it down and it makes it into a height and a right angle. So therefore, now we're back in triangle trig, right? Everybody there with me? Okay. Anyway, it comes out, we'll call him H. So notice if I'm looking here, let me see. I didn't ever prove this before, but I thought it was kind of cool. Hold on. She did it for me today. I swear. Don't be mocking me over there, Buckwheat. You know how to prove it? Awesome. Me neither. Alright, never mind. Because I was like, oh, okay, here we go. That's it. I got it. Okay, so if I stand here and I use H and C, I'd go sine of B, I just got it, is equal to H over C. Does everybody see that? Yes, no? If I stand here, sine of C, I had to think about it for a minute, and I'm like, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. What's that movie? I can't think of it. Oh,
The Grinch.
The Grinch, right? Okay, I'm going to times B over, so it's just like kind of the last problem we're solving for H. Does that make sense? So therefore, H is equal to B sine of C equals H, and sine of B with the C out front, hi sir, equals H. I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you though. The H's are equal to each other, right? So therefore now I'm at C sine of B equals sine of C, excuse me, a C sine of B. Does everybody see what I'm doing here? Once again, it's okay.
It was worse than identities.
This is just a proof. Proofs is what you do later in math. That's how I became a math teacher, is I had to prove things. Is it? Yes, it is. That's what you guys were trying to tell me. Sorry. Equals B sine of C. So what we're going to do is divide both sides by BC.
But you already have a C sine of B also.
C sine of B, B sine of C.
Oh, but down there you have C sine of B equals H.
Exactly, and B sine of C equals H as well.
Oh, okay.
So that's why. So then notice, so I have sine of C over C equals sine of B over B. And if I did A, guess what that comes along with it as well? Sine of A over A. That's the law of sine. Let me just show you right down here. Once again, I don't care if you even did this, just paid attention to it, but here's your law of sines. Sine of A over little a equals sine of B over little b, which equals sine of C over little c. Okay, that is the law of sine. Everybody there with me? Anybody have a question where I got that? Now you can understand at least that it's, where did they come up with that? That's how they came up with it. Okay? But we also know in proportions that sometimes we need to solve for things on the bottom, right? On the last test when you guys had a variable on the bottom, you guys struggled a little bit, correct? So remember, just flip them. This is also part of law of sines, because obviously it's still the proportion, right? Does that make sense to everyone? Yes, no, maybe so. Now you're like, I still don't know what to do with it. right? Okay. So what you're going to do with it, though, is you're going to solve a whole triangle. So we have this in our notes. Do we all have this in our notes? Can I switch? Okay. So here's a triangle. Here we go. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, you need to have, for a law of sines, you need to either have A, two angles, and a corresponding side, meaning like that side corresponds to one of the angles, like meaning 40 corresponds with the 4. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Yes, no? Or you need to have two angles, so, or excuse me, I did two angles and a corresponding side, or you need to have two sides and a corresponding angle. That's kind of how it works. Is everybody with me? These are the types of problems that you're going to use. Yes, no, maybe so. What do we know about triangles first off? What do the insides have to add up to be? 180. Does everybody understand triangles on the inside, their angles add up to be 180? Okay. What else do we know? Does anybody know something about this angle right now? Tell me right now. Angle A. What do we know about it?
Proportionate to 3?
It has a proportion with 3. That is very true. This is something. This is. We don't know it's less. Yes, it is less than 90. True. It's less than 40.
Why?
Okay. This Spanglish said that you guys didn't learn this, and it was very surprising to me. Okay. In a triangle, if you look at the sides, the largest side goes with the largest angle. The middle side goes with the middle angle. The smallest side goes with the smallest angle. Does that make sense? Everybody understand that rule? Because if you don't understand that rule, it is going to be hard today.
The largest side with the largest angle.
Yep. So therefore, 4 is larger than 3.
So that means that.
So therefore, A has to be smaller than 40. Does that make sense? Can we,
Wait, what side goes with
yes,
the
because once
Yeah,
again,
whoa,
the
okay.
opposite sides correspond. Okay, so this would be considered little b right here, right? Does that make sense to you?
Oh.
Because if you remember back from my original triangle, B, big B, little b, A, big A, C, little, you do what I'm saying, little c, big C. They always correspond. Okay, so if you look at the opposite side, okay, look at the opposite side, the sides correspond with the largest angles and so forth. So if you have a larger side on one than another, and the reason being is, think about it.
Does that mean 40 is the biggest angle?
Not necessarily, because we don't know what this side is. C could be larger, right? It's going to have to be the biggest.
Okay.
Okay, but here we go. We're going to set it up now. Okay, so right now you should understand, when you get your final answer, it should be less than 40. If not, did something wrong, right? You see how we can justify our work here? Okay, here we go. So, I'm going to do law of sine. So this is representing C, C, A, big A. So, whenever I'm looking for an angle, I put the sine of that missing angle on top. Why do I go for sine of A first? Because I have little a, don't I? Does that make sense? Does everybody see that proportion? So therefore, that equals sine of 40 over 4.
Oh, with the side itself.
Because, remember in law of sines, it said sine of A over A equals sine of B over B, or sine of C over C, right? Does that make sense to everybody? Not too hard of a concept, correct? Okay, and then we're going to times 3 to both sides. So I'm at sine of A equals 3 sine of 40 over 4. Go ahead and plug that in your machine for me, please. You already did it, right? Don't round. Don't round. So 3 sine of 40 over 4, what mode should I be in? Degree, because that's 40 degrees, right? What'd you get? It's like a decimal. That's okay, but you got a decimal, correct? Point, is it less than 1? Should it be less than 1? Greater than 0 though, right? Why? What's the highest sign can ever be? 1. What's the lowest it ever be? Technically negative 1, right? Everybody understand that? Okay? Well, on our unit circle, right, think about it, sines the x, the y values, how high does our unit circle ever get? How low does it get? Make sense? So now, this is saying right here, Hannah, this is why you got to make sure it makes sense, because now I'm at sine of A is 0.04 blah, 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 right?
Isn't it 0.4?
Is it 0.4?
Yeah,
0.4? 0.4. Okay. Amber, you had a question? Are you all right? Okay.
Yeah.
So now you're taking sine of an angle, and that sine of an angle better be in between -1 and 1, because that's the sine of an angle. It's in between there. So what are we going to do? The arc sine of that answer. So I go the A is the arc sine of the answer. Once again, do not round. Use your answer button. Okay? We all know how to use the answer button? It's right above the negative, right? Do you know how to use the negative?
Oh, yeah.
Do you have your calculator today? Can you hand me that one? How much?
28.8.
Okay. So there's the answer button. Do you have one today? Okay. So what did we get? 28.8. Does that seem reasonable? It's less than 40. 3 and 4 are pretty close to each other, so therefore they got to be closer in angle size, correct? Make sense? So this guy right here is 28.8. Now I want you to solve the whole... Yes, sir.
What's the number written in difference?
Answer. A and S. Because you're using your answer button, so you're not rounding, Hayden.
Oh, yeah.
You okay with me, bud? Okay. What do we know? We want to solve the whole triangle, so what are we still missing? We have C. We're missing big B, right? And little b. So how do we find big B? This has to add up to be 180, doesn't it? So this is 68.8, right? Does that make sense? So 68.8, so therefore this is, I think, 111.2. Yes, no? Is that right? Why did I do the arc sine? Whenever you do the arc sine, anytime you're looking for an angle. That's when arc sines come in. Does that make sense to you? Okay, what are we missing now? Little b, right? Is everybody with me? Am I throwing anyone? Because if you can't get this right now, I got to make sure this is a foundation. Are we okay? It's really simple. It really is. So if not, let me help you because I can get you to get there. Okay? So now we need to do little b. Well, b over sine of, what was b again? 111.2. Now why is the little b on top? Because that's who I want to solve for. Remember, proportions can flip-flop, right? Now what I always like to do is what angle am I going to use? Does it really matter whether I'm using A or C? No. But which one am I going to use?
The nicer looking
C, and the reason why is this is an estimate, correct? This was given to us. Use the stuff that's given to you. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm scrolling down. Okay, so I'm going to equal once again with a fourth over the sine of 40. And then what do we got to do just to solve for b? Times him over, so you're going to put a sine of 111.2. B gone. B equals what? 5.8, is that what you got? Do we got a second on that yet?
5.8.
Okay. Everybody do it for yourself, just so you know how to do it? You okay?
Yeah,
I'm like dying. I don't mind if I get a little dirty every now and then.
Glad you shared that with
Huh?
us. What? Nothing.
Okay. Was that really hard? No, it's not bad, huh? It's going to get harder just by a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to show you the hard case.
Wait, so just little b equals 5.8.
Now I found everything. Notice my whole triangle. I have A, I have C, I have B, I have little a, little b, little c. Right? That's your goal, is just to solve the whole triangle. Okay? Now, sometimes there's triangles that they say happen that aren't really happening. Okay? Meaning, if you have, for example, like this.
So like triangles that numbers don't work.
Yeah. But they'll give you a triangle saying, hey, here's a triangle. Because I could draw a triangle and just put random crap in it like I just did, right?
No.
I don't know if it's a real triangle. Does that make sense? Everybody with me on that? Okay, so who would we solve for again? A first, right? And I need big B and little b as well, correct? But the first step I would have to go for is A, because I have the side that corresponds with A. Is everybody there with me? Yes, Getty?
So, will they label the sides A, B, and C for us?
They'll give you a triangle and just understand whatever. It could be W, it could be X as your. So if this was W, what's this side? Little w. It's just the
All the
opposite.
sides correspond.
Yeah, just understand the corresponding. Does that make sense to you? So like here in this triangle, they really don't, but I mean, just you label it. That's all that matters is if you label it. On the test, I label it for you. Does that make sense? I just don't know necessarily. I'm looking at the homework. It looks like they do. Okay, is everybody good with me? Okay, so what are we going to do? Somebody set up the proportion. How are we going to set up the proportion? Am I going to have an angle on top or a side on top?
Sine big A over
Sine of
A
big A
over 2,
over little a, which is 2.
and then A equals sine 1 over 8.
This is going to come out.
Yeah, it comes out 0.08.
Hold on. I'm trying to think of something. Can we flip-flop that?
Yeah.
Make him 2. I'll make him 8.
Makes it a lot easier.
Hold on. I'm just...
Oh.
Shit. Sorry. I made up one that still works. Just put it in the basket for me. You write it, I sign it. Okay. Alright, sweet.
What's the problem with it? If it worked, if you were to do it like
It works. I want something that didn't work.
oh.
I wanted, if there's a time that it comes out no solutions to it, and I was hoping that was it, but it isn't. So I'll just get into this. Let's just start here then. This is the situation.
So are we switching?
Nope, just still, yep, if you'll still switch it like that, that'll work for me. So this would be 8, right? And this would be 2. Okay. I want you guys to talk about this really quick.
Oh, wait.
I'm gonna give everybody time. Are we okay? Everybody has this down the way I have it down. We need to talk about this. What did I just talk about angles? Tell us the sides, don't they? So therefore, 20 goes with 2, and 8's larger than 2, so what do I know about angle A?
Greater than C.
It is going to be bigger than C. We know that, don't we? Does everybody understand that? You really, Hank, I'm being serious. Does everybody understand that A is going to be bigger than C? Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, isn't there technically, like, for example, if let's say I asked you sine of, just at a random, x is a half. Unit circle, right? Okay, on the unit circle, where is x, sine of what? I'm not guaranteeing you passing. you can say retook her test.
Okay.
Okay, tell me what x gives me a value of a sine of a half. What do we get there? 30 degrees, right? What other place?
Negative 30.
That is not a correct statement. 150 degrees. Just curious.
1/2.
Could 150 fit there? In that triangle? What? He's 150, he's 20, he could be 10. Is that a possibility? Could 30 be in that triangle? This would be 30, this would be 20, this would be 100. Both answers could be in there. So that's the trick that you got to look into. Okay?
Why did you say sine of that?
I'm just trying to give you an idea that, once again, we're comfortable with the unit circle right now. That there's always two angles that give me a positive a half. And in sine, those angles are anywhere between where? 0 and 180. So there's two values that give me a positive value, right? Does that make sense? So this is why I asked you this question. Well, we do know A is larger. Isn't 30 larger than 20? Is it 150 larger than 20? Both cases would work, right? Does that make sense? Okay, but the thing why we got to put both answers is, do we know if this is the largest side or the middle side? We don't know, so you have to do it both times. So this is a double triangle. Does that make sense? This is the trick. This is the hardest part, is that you have to see this idea. Is that if you have a side, okay, larger than another side, and you do not have the corresponding angle with the largest side. That is a two possibility. There's two angles of possibility there. Does that make sense to everybody? Yes.
That's what sine of x equals.
No, like that's where we're going to do it down here. You ready?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so what we're going to do here is this. So this is how we'd solve for A. I can't write with that, can I? Okay, I would solve for A, so how do I solve for A here? Multiply the 8 to the other side. Sine of A equals 8 sine of 20 over 2. Well, what do we get? Oh, this is a no solution.
Could you please
Damn,
get
it
Kelly
worked.
Olson to the front office for a minute?
Who?
Oh, because it's greater than 1 and sine would be greater than 1.
Okay, I was so excited, I didn't think this was going to come out. But either way, because usually this is the time that you either get 2 or none. Whew. Yeah, don't watch this video at home and try to do this by yourself. Okay. Anyway, why is this bad?
Because it's greater than
And once again, what's the largest sign could be? 1. So hence, when you take the arc sign, it says error, or not within the domain, right? So therefore, no triangle.
So if it's
That's just the answer for
out-
everything.
No, if it's like this, sine of A is 1.36. That's because, once again, a sine can't be larger than 1. There's not an angle that can give you a sine larger than 1, right? So therefore, that's a no solution. Let me try another one. Hopefully, it makes more sense this
So what
time.
would be the answer to that? No solution?
That's a no triangle. You can't even build a triangle with that information.
just be like a straight line.
Because it's like, you have this arm, right? And with the way that angle is, they won't connect. Does that make sense? Okay. So, let's try it one more time. Noticing here, and this one's gonna work. I promise. If not, I give you $100.
Really?
Yes, because watch, ready? I can prove it to you. This guy's 3, this guy's 2, this guy's 20. Guarantee that sucker works. I guarantee it does. Huh? Because my space in between the two sides are realistic. You know what I mean? That's how I can guarantee it. Okay, but once again, still look at it. What angle would we fight for first? We need to solve for B first, don't we? Does everybody see that? Huh? Because B is the angle with the corresponding side, right? That we have given. Okay. Excuse me, I've hit hiccups today. So I do still my same thing. Sine of B over 3 equals sine of 20 over 2. really quick, times the 3 over, so he's gone. Plug it into the machine. Today's a lot of calculator work. Oh, how much is it?
What?
0.513. Sine of b equals that, so then what can we do? We're going to do the arc sine of it, correct?
30.86.
I'm going to accept that as an answer. Do I got a second on that?
Yeah.
Okay. Now look at this option. What do we know about b? It's bigger than c. How do we know that? Because the 3 is larger than the 2. Do we understand that situation? Okay, no problem. So looking here, because 3 is larger than 2, I know angle B, whatever he's going to be, comes out larger than 20. Which our answer did come out larger, didn't he?
Yeah.
But, okay, so 30.86 is an answer. Is it my only answer? No, so now we're going to use him as a reference angle. Okay, because notice, like over here, notice when it was a half, this was 30 degrees, and so was this 30 degrees to get to me to 150, right? They have the same reference angle. Does that make sense? So, this is 30.86, and this is 30.86. So this is 149.14 as well. I have 2 solutions. Okay, so once again, Callie, so just, were you here when I was talking about the 2 sides, whether, like, how we got the 30 and the 150? So same thing, okay? There's 2 b values that give me 0.513, 30.86, and using 30.86 as a reference angle, he's 30.86 away, so I say, oh, that's 180, cut back that, which is 149.14. You with me now? Does that make sense? So, now, you got to come over here to A. How many angles are going to be in A? 1 or 2? 2, because there's 2 different triangles. There's triangle when it's 30.86, and there's a triangle when it's 149.14. You get what I'm saying? Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I'm just confused on the 2. There's 2 answers.
Do you understand why it could happen?
Yeah, I understand why. I don't get
How you could get it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, with this being said, I'll come back to this, but I gotta share reference angles, right? Okay, give me an angle, any angle, I don't care. 50 it is. So 50, okay, is here. That's a reference angle as well. So using that reference angle, I come over in quadrant 2, and that would be 130. Okay, I want you to do it in your calculator for me right now. You ready? Sine of 50. You're going to get a number, I don't care what the number is. Okay. Sine of 1/3. What is it? And that's what I'm trying to talk about. There's 2 angles that give you the exact same response.
For every triangle.
For everyone. Not everyone. Because even on that first problem that we did, even this guy, okay, why didn't I check him? Where did I go? Not him.
I think it was
This guy, right? Why did I not check him to say, oh, there's more than him? Let me explain the reasoning. Because technically there's still 2 values, right? But, do you see how we were originally given the 4 and the 3? I need the angle smaller than 40, which is 28.8.
So only if it can be bigger. Okay, that makes sense. Alright.
That's a great question. Did that just click?
Yeah, that's
Because there's 2 options every time, isn't there? Every time there's 2 options. But, looking at the 40, here's the 4, here's the 3. We know about triangles that because 4 is larger than 3, this angle has to be smaller than 40, correct? So there's now only one option.
So if it's
So now, go ahead.
So if it's smaller than the original,
Then,
that's
exactly. So here, looking at this guy, 2 and 3, who's larger? 3. So all I know is that this angle is larger than 20. Aren't both those angles, 30.86 and 149.14, larger than 20? So I have to give both solutions. That's the hardest part today, guys, right there. You can connect that technically every angle deserves 2, but it can restrict itself by other angles. That's the trick. And then it's the same math over a bajillion times over again. Okay? So, now coming back here, if this guy was 20 and 30.86, that means this guy is 129.14. Usually what I like to do, for me personally, I come down here and I say, we have big A, big B, big C, A, B, C. And then if I have 2 triangles, I do it again. A, B, C, A, B, C, right? So on my first triangle, what was the angle? Was it C that was 20? Is that what you guys have in your notes, is C is 20? Okay, so I put 20 and then 20, because they're automatically going to be that, right? C is always going to be 2 here. B is always going to be 3. So what am I missing? I'm missing big A, big B, little a. Big A, big B, little a, correct? So one of my options was, B was it 30.86? And then the other one was 149.14. So therefore, here's 2 angles of your triangle. How do you get to your third? Subtract it. So that's going to be 169.14. So that's 10.86 for this angle. This one over here, that becomes 50.86. So this is 149.14. Is that always going to be the case that these are the same? No. Is everybody with me there, though? Does that make sense why we have 2 triangles, though?
So we don't know which one it is. We just have to do both.
No, they're both it.
If A plus B plus C equals 180 and A
Am I off on top?
Yeah, because if you have 2 angles on both
Oh,
sides,
sorry, I
they
did
all
one.
can be equal.
This is 129.
And I was like, oh.
That's better. Sorry about that. Thank you.
How did you get, not how did you get
The big one? That's going back to using reference angles. So I found the 30.86. So here's that. That's also a reference angle over here. So notice this is 180, cut back 30.86, which is 149.14. That's what reference angles do. Are you okay with that? That's how I got him. How did I get this guy? 20 plus 30.86 is 50.86. What do we know a triangle adds up to be? 180, and so I did subtract it from 180. Okay? Hi. Awesome. Do you guys have a meter stick? Because I don't have a meter stick. I don't have one. You can go see if Miss Merkley will let you borrow hers, because I know she has one. Okay. So then the last thing we have to do is what? We have to solve for little a. Okay? Keep looking at the time. Just because we're almost done. This is really the lesson. But at the same time, you got to make sure you understand it. Right? Okay. So like I said, it's easy, but there's a trick to it. Yeah.
So to determine the one that you're solving for is the one that is either bigger or smaller?
Mm-hmm.
So, hold on, I don't know. Just keep going, I think I got it.
I'll get my groove on there. Okay, here we go. So now I need little a. I have everything in here to get that. A over sine of A, what's our A? 129.14 equals, and once again, who am I going to use? The B's or the C's?
The C.
The C because it was given to me, correct? Could you use the B? Sure, but why am I not going to? Because you're using an estimate to plug into a formula. Does that make sense? Okay, so I have C, which is 2 over the sine of 20, so I just times that stuff over. Okay, here I have A over sine of 10.86. equals 2 over the sine of 20. You want to shut the door for me, Mike, by chance? So we just times them over. So A, what do we get on this side? Notice he's the largest angle, so he should come out to be our largest side. You see how we correspond with our answers, right? You okay? Did you get started? Everybody doing it for me?
Yeah, it's putting in like that one.
Nope, just plug this in. So go 2 times the sine of 129.14.
I got 4.5.
Okay, and that seems like a reasonable answer, right? Okay, 4.5. Do I got a second on that?
Yeah.
Okay, now looking over here, this is 10.86. That's the smallest angle, so it should come out to be the smallest side. 1.1. Second on that. Anybody do that one? You did both? Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
That's all it is, really. You feel good? Now, obviously, I'm going to do one more. We're going to work on it real quick. We're going to do an airplane problem, because I love me some airplanes. I want to, that'd be, I've only flown a few times, so still intriguing to me. Okay, so what other kind of angle? Because notice I gave you when we have 2 sides in a given angle, right?
You give us 2.
Also, I could give you 2 angles, so like 40, 70, B, A, C, and this guy is 10.
Wouldn't that be easier? Because I mean, angles have a
This is the
relationship
easiest thing to do. Because we don't have to really, only thing we're going to search for, when we have to find angles using, that's when it takes a little bit of time. But, as she just said, what do we know about triangles? What do they add up to be? 180, so therefore, 40 plus 70 is 110. So this is, so what does that also tell us? We already know this guy's 10. How do we know that one? I didn't mean it to be that, but because it's an isosceles triangle. You guys remember isosceles triangles have the same sides? Because it comes back to that idea where larger angles have larger sides. Well, if they're the same, guess what? Same side, right? Does that make sense? And so the only thing we have to look for is little a. But even not, we'd have to look for a little c, correct? Does that make sense to you? So we go, okay, little a is the sine of 40 equals,
10 over the sine of 70.
and once again, it doesn't really matter which one because they're the same, right?
Oh, you're doing that.
Why wouldn't you put the sine of 40 on top?
Okay, good question. A proportion doesn't matter whether who's on top or bottom, because is 3/6 the same thing as 6 over 3? No, but if I flip him, and okay, so let's say 3/6 is a half, right? So if I flip it 6/3, and I flip the other one, it still becomes 2. It doesn't matter. So therefore, because I'm looking for a variable, I always put whatever I'm looking for on top. Does that answer your question? Okay.
I got 6.84.
Okay, so once again, just to make sure, A is 10 sine of 40 over the sine of 70. That's what they plugged in. And we got 6.84. Is that a reasonable answer?
Yep.
Once again, why is it reasonable? Because it's the smallest angle needs a smaller side, correct? Justify your answer. Don't just accept it, justify it. Does it make sense? Right? Does that make pretty good with me? Okay, we're going to do one problem. Oh, shit, we got to do an area problem, too. It's all right. It's not hard, though. Okay, here is our problem. It says, the course of a boat race starts at point A. Point A. And proceeds in a direction of south, 52 degrees west. And then at that point, starts at a direction of south, 40 degrees east. Okay, where it comes directly due south of the starting point. Okay, here's what we got. It is asking basically this. It says, Da 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 da. This point, this distance is 8 kilometers. Okay, the question says approximate the total distance of the race course. So we want to go, oh, it's going here, it's going here. Once again, how do I know it's going here? Because he's going south, coming back a direction of 52 degrees west. So that's 52 degrees. Is everybody with me on that? Yes, no? So now we're going to do this one. We haven't done him yet. Okay? So this is south 40 degrees east. Are you okay with me now? So now at this point he's going south, cutting back 40 degrees east. So this angle right here is 40. Is everybody good there? And guess what, guys? Can you guys tell me what this angle is and this angle right here called? Alternate interior, because technically we got two parallel lines right here, right? This is directly due south and this is it. So there's two lines cut by transversal, so these two angles are the same. So this is 52. How much is that angle in here? How much does this whole line add up to be? The 88, right? Does everybody understand how 88 comes about? Because the whole line's 180, we got 92 of it right here. So therefore this is 88. Which if that's 52 and that's 88, that's 140, so what's this angle right here? 40.
So you already know that's from the smallest.
So we already have all three angles. Now it took a little work to get there, right? But we got them, correct? Okay, with that being said, now we need to find the side. So I'm just going to call this guy A for purposes and B for purposes, okay? You guys ready to roll? Paige, you all right? You look a little tired today.
So tired.
Do I need to give you a noogie? What will you need above?
No.
Wedgie.
I just need
Oh
to-
my.
I've never gave a student a wedgie. That would be a first, by the way.
And a laugh.
And probably, I would probably agree with that one. I don't think I don't think I've ever gave anybody a wedgie. Yeah, never mind. Probably was that cousin again. I don't know if you guys ever heard my cousin story.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you did hear about it. I can't
I
remember.
just
who-
put oil on your head. It was good laugh.
Not oil. Gas.
Gas. Sorry. Gas.
No, I really did. We must not been here
Just
that
poured
day.
water on it.
You poured water and filled it with gasoline and then lit a match right next to him.
On his
Told him to
head.
stop crying.
Stop crying for what? Oh my god.
Don't let me babysit your kid.
Did you
Anyway,
reproduce at all?
I know.
Sorry.
Oh
Sorry.
my god.
I mean, that was mean. I'm sorry.
hey, sometimes it's okay because I've done bad things. Okay.
No, it's just when I get tired of you.
You don't get mean. You're a person that tells it sometimes the way it is. It's really simple. All we do is what? Times the sine of 40 over
Oh.
8 times the sine of 40. Not pulling it up because it takes too long. 5.14.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we got to do B. How are we going to set up B?
8.
B over sine of 52 equals 8 over.
So 8.
Basically, you can almost just hit second enter and go change back. Instead of 40, put in 52, right? You guys know if you hit second enter, it gives you the exact same question.
Where's second
So hit second, the button, second,
entry?
the blue button, and then the enter button. And it gives you the exact same thing you just punched in. How much is it? 6.3. And so therefore, that's 14.3 plus 5.14, 19.44 miles. Roughly a 20-kilometer race, right? I'm parched. all that jigging and jiving earlier today. Get this body moving, and then I'm all parched. I don't know how you stay on beats, man. They're fast freaking people. Yeah, they were. I'm sitting there. I got off. I don't know which one you want to, but my second, the second one, I was off. I was going left, and they were going right, and I was going right. And then I said, "Screw it!" And I just do my own thing.
Yeah, I saw that in the back. It's like, and Robert does his own thing.
I told him, I said, "If I get messed up, I just jig you." And then I'll hurry catch out of my eye and get caught back up. Okay, last thing, guys. Area. Okay? Area of a triangle. So, if you have an area of a triangle, what they need to know is this. I don't want to prove this, nor am I going to prove this. So, you're going to know an angle. So, like I give you this is 40, and then they're going to give you this is like 8, and this guy is 10. So, here's your formula. Area is equal to 1/2, notice that's BC, times the sine of A. That's your formula.
Okay.
What else could it be? Because do I always have to give you A? Give me another formula. 1/2 AB sine of C. Give me one more. 1/2
AC.
AC sine of B. Those are the formulas you can have. Pretty simple to plug and chug.
Yeah.
Okay.
Plug and chug. I like it.
Everybody with me on that?
The last one would have to be
AC sine of B. Any questions? Can we do it? Okay. Go to another one, do your homework. Key thing, guys. I'm going to hurry and ask you. You guys tell me right now how many solutions.
so 2 solutions to 1.
So that triangle.
Because the angle is guaranteed.
One.
Well, because
Right? It's 1. It's guaranteed. The angle's guaranteed. It can't be anything else, right? Does that make sense to me? Everybody there? Oh, shit. Is that the same? It is, isn't it?
The angle's
Sorry. Let's do this. That's what I was looking for. That's a 1.
Oh, yeah.
Why?
Because
How many solutions or how many triangles are going to be built out of this, possibly? It's a 1. Why? 10 is larger than 8. Therefore, there's only one angle smaller than 50 that's going to make it work. Makes sense. Okay, what if it flip-flopped? 50, 8, 10. That could be 2 or 0. Because we don't know if the proportion gets so large, it could come out to be 0. Okay? Do you guys see the difference in between the two? Why this is a 1 and this is a 2 or 0. It is a huge difference, right? More work than necessary. Okay, I guarantee you're going to have a one on the test that's a 2 solutioner. Okay? All right, so here it is.
So how do I math it?
Keep putting it away. Sorry, ma'am. 1 through. Let me just see where I want to get to. 43 odd. On 6-1, which is page, did you say what?
463. I mean 436. 436.
4036, yep. There you go.
perfect.
Thanks, Robert.